Good morning and welcome on the Sunrise Safari. As you can see, we're out before the sunrise this morning and the times are definitely changing. My name is Leo Smith. I'm going to be your guide for the next 3 hours. Unfortunately, we do only have one vehicle operational at the moment. I have Brian on camera, and together sometimes we're known as the Killer Bees. So hopefully our reputation will precede us and the animals will pop out in front of us. So welcome. We're sitting on the northern boundary. It is a lovely morning, only 18 degrees, 63 Fahrenheit. So not cold at all. Summer's definitely on its way. I'm in shorts and just a light jersey now. So none of these big jackets and gloves and beanies and things. I'm very, very happy for that. And there's this wonderful fresh smell around. And there's green popping up everywhere. And we will definitely show you that. So 4 days after the rain, some of the grasses are coming up. And some of the succulents are already out, and I'm hoping we can possibly find some wildflowers this morning as well. So if you are new, we are live, so you are pre-dawn or pre-sunrise here in the African bush with myself and Brian, and we have Tara and Nikki in final control, and we are out on an African safari. We're in search of all the big things, lions, leopards, elephants, as well as the tiny things, new budding flowers and birds and insects and frogs, one of my favorites. So we're going to keep checking this northern boundary. I did hear lions during the night to the north, and I'm hoping they might have meandered south. If not, we'll be checking for all sorts of tracks and whatever else we might be able to find. One of the most things you can see on the sunrise safari yesterday, and it is a leopard we don't see very often, and I know this is probably not going to make me the most popular, but for me she's definitely the most beautiful out of the female leopards I've seen here up in the north, and her name is Kwatile. Kwatile translated means the angry one, so maybe when she was younger, why not, she had a bit of a reputation for being a bit growly and snarly, but one of the reasons I do very much like Kwatile is I actually have spent quite a bit of time with her, I wouldn't say ancestors just as such, but her four mothers, not four fathers, and she comes from a leopard lineage that comes from the central Sabi Sands around the Sand River. That leopard lineage is started, or the first female recognized in that sort of family tree is the Sunset Bend female. Now for me, even when I was working down at Londolozi in Singita, you have these very different leopard lineages, and you can actually see the sort of family traits passed on. Not sort of individual spots and whatnot like that, but sort of a general look about them. So the Sunset Bend lineage is a very dark, almost jaguar-esque colouring, dark leopards, much longer faces, and then for me, they are the most beautiful leopards that I've seen in this area, that whole Sunset Bend lineage. So as far as I know, her mother was the Campbell Koppie female, who is the daughter of Vomba. And the Vomba female was a leopard I used to see a lot of. And actually, where I used to live down in Londolozi, I had a nice big veranda in front of my room. And during the hot summer months, I used to take my afternoon naps on the couch outside. And while I was having one of these afternoon naps, I just sort of had this premonition that something was watching me, and I woke up and there was the Vomba female about 6 meters away from me in the middle of the camp, in the middle of the day, watching me have a nap. I didn't feel any danger or threat. She just sort of had a look and then she meandered on her way. So they've got sort of a much longer noses and that dark colouring I was talking about. And oh, look at that sun. But if we chat about the other leopards, well, the leopards we see regularly here, the two females, or which are Karula and Shadow. There we go, the sun has popped up over the horizon. They're definitely much paler than Kwatile, much shorter faces, and no less beautiful. I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I think just because I've spent such a lot of time with that Sunset Bend lineage, a lot of my favorite leopards in the Sabi Sands were all daughters and granddaughters of that Sunset Bend female, and who I actually saw as well before. Well, she was quite old by that stage already, but there was another female, was a sister of, or half sister of Vomba. Oh, sorry, of Kwatile, not Vomba. Vomba was the mother, called, it had two different names. At Londolozi we used to call her Shidulu, and that means termite mound, because we used to see her quite regularly around a road that was named after the huge amount of termite mounds on it, the Shidulu female. The guys in Maramala used to call her Kikalezi. So now that is a half sister or a sister of Kwatile, and they're very, very beautiful leopards, and I said I spent a lot of time with them. And that sister of Kwatile, I was lucky enough to find her cubs for the first time in the Sand River, and also with Vomba I've been lucky enough. So Kwatile's mother, I've also found sets of her cubs for the first time, and I wonder, could one of them have been Kwatile's mother, the Campbell Corpy's female? That is such a long history of the leopards, from way in the south to up here in the north. So guys, unfortunately I've got to go through this little dip here, and it is traditionally a bad signal area, so I'm going to try and move through it as quickly as possible. I'm not going to talk until we're up and over and through the other side. Live show from the middle of the African bush. So we do have tech experts and wizards who I'm sure in the years to come will figure out these little dark zones, but for now we just like to give you a bit of warning before we disappear, and so you don't get worried that the gremlins have invaded in full force. So I need to turn my book box around. There is a plant I want to show you. I just want to get my books ready, and I have literally, I'd say my book box probably weighs nearly as much as this car, but I never want to go out in case I need one of them, so I try to take as many as possible through. So we're just going to stop and have another quick look at this sunrise while I find this plant in the book, because otherwise we might end up meeting a plant first hand with the vehicle, which wouldn't be ideal. We've got a little spider web there. Here we go. So also, just to let you guys know, we're trying a new radio system at the moment, so we've put a repeater on a tower, and it's going to take a little bit of getting used to for everyone, and we really need to key the mic for a couple of seconds before speaking, otherwise we just get very bad breakup on it. So unfortunately, as we try to figure out and improve all our systems out here in the bush. We occasionally do get some problems, and we're working through those as quickly as possible. So at the moment, unfortunately, there's a lot of cutouts every sort of 3 seconds on the radio, so maybe it could just be where I am. So we're going to try and move off to some different ground. So we're going to have a quick look at the Buffalo's Hook waterhole, and more so that it's just a really sort of well-known, and quite a lot of large animal paths go around it, more than animals going there for water, because I'm quite sure they'll be taking advantage of all the little pans that are filled up in the rain. But it's always worth having a little squiz. Definitely see something. It is a predator, but probably not the predator you're thinking. We have an avian predator, a great predator of fish and frogs. Saddle-billed stork fishing the edge of the Buffalo's Hook waterhole. Oh, look at this. You can see there's a blacksmith lapwing bombing it, and here comes the second one. Now, there's a very important reason why they're doing that, is they have more than likely got a nest somewhere around. And even though a saddle-billed stork mainly eats fish and frogs and other aquatic things, if it came across baby blacksmith lapwing plovers, they would eat them or eat the eggs. So the adults, oh, it saw something. The adults will definitely try to defend it. I mean, they will defend their nests against, oh, got something, a little fish by the looks of things. And very sorry, we seem to have gone for black screen as we approached the waterhole, but fortunately back now with a hunting saddle-billed stork. You can see how it pops its head from side to side, just in case it's chased anything in the opposite direction. You can see it might work its way through to that sort of little inlet there, where it might be able to corner something. So these opportunities, or sightings like this, give us the opportunity to listen a little bit. So if the lions are roaring, or leopards are roaring, or if a prey species has spotted them, we might hear the alarm calls. Only one small fish so far. You see that very much swayed side to side. So this rain we've had will, after something there, but it escaped, will change the saddlebald stork's behavior a little bit. Those of you who watch the dam cams regularly will have seen them around the Djuma dam cam very, very regularly, taking advantage of that very, very shallow, muddy water that the catfish were stuck in. Unfortunately, towards the end, the catfish actually were too big for a saddlebald stork to grab. But this rain will bring out a whole bunch of different species that they can feed off. I'm sure some of those very big dragonfly larvae and lots of frogs. So I know for our regular viewers, this is quite an easy question for you, but I'm sure there could be some new people out there who are just as keen to learn. So why don't you guys let me know whether this is a male or female saddlebald stork? Feeding almost directly towards us. Almost done the whole periphery of the waterhole while we've been here. So for those answers, whether it's a male or female, send your answers via email through to questions@WildEarthTV, or you can use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So a little bit earlier we saw those blacksmith lapwings bombing the saddlebald stork to protect a potential nest in the area. And Lisa was wondering, what do we call birds that nest on the ground? Well, Lisa, we call them terrestrial nesters. There are quite a few different species. Most of the lapwings are plovers, and the little plovers like the three-banded plover, franklin, guinea fowl, thickneys, will all nest on the ground. So terrestrial nesters. I'm going to spend a few more minutes here. That stork is heading back towards where the lapwings were, so he might get bombarded again. Oh, Brian spotted one of his favorite birds to film. Oh, pied kingfisher. Very well done to MJ, Nancy, and Joanne from Arizona, who all got that answer correct. It is a female saddle-billed stork. Now, let's have a look if those lapwings come around. So the reason it's a female saddle-billed stork, unfortunately my bird book doesn't have a picture of a male and female. It's only got one, but we've got such a beautiful view right in front of us that we might as well use the live animal rather than a picture. So we have a look. The female has a yellow eye when she turns her head, and also on the side of her face there's no yellow wattles. You can see the yellow saddle, but if we come down off the side of the face, there'd be two yellow wattles like a male, or the male would have two yellow wattles on the side of its face. And you can see this, the stork's not going around to where it got bombed by the lapwings. It's decided it's better to just avoid that area. So, as we're about to leave the saddle-billed stork hunting in Buffalo's Hook Waterhole, we've got one last question on them from Jerry in California. Jerry, I hope you're having a wonderful sunny Californian day like we're having a wonderful sunny African day. Jerry would like to know, where do they migrate from? Well, Jerry, saddle-billed storks are resident. They do not migrate, so they will be here for the whole year. Kingfisher Brian? Oh, he's flying over. No? Landed in the tree. We'll keep a quick eye on the kingfisher as well. So Jerry, they live here for the whole year. There will be little local migrations, not really migrations, but they will move from waterhole to waterhole. And the two we see, and often in pairs we'll see them, the two we see will be resident over all the waterholes in Djuma, and they will actually defend those waterholes against other saddle-billed storks. In areas like the Okavango Delta in Botswana, where there's a lot more prime habitat for them, they don't move as much, Brian. There's this white-bellied sunbird in this combretum. Can you see him there? We're just going to wait. There's a very, very pretty little bird hopping around there. For those of you keeping a bird list, might be one you don't have. A little white-bellied sunbird. It's our most common species up here in the northern Sabi Sands. And you see that little brown one at the back? That's the female. So you can see this combretum is in flower when a lot of the others aren't yet. There's a couple of reasons this is. Yeah, obviously that little bit of rain has really helped, but mostly because it's next to a waterhole, so it would have taken moisture from the ground. Yeah, and Brian's doing a fantastic job. Sunbirds are probably one of the hardest things to film because they are so busy and they fly so fast. And using that curved beak and elongated tongue to get the nectar out of those tiny flowers. There we go. You can see how he's using that curved beak female, or is that a different sunbird species at the back? I think there's another sunbird species in the tree here. Looks like we might have a second sunbird species. Just gonna... Yes, Brian, go to the one at the back there.
Yeah, got it there.
Oh, look at that. Isn't that stunning? We just wait for him to pop out into the open. Really beautiful bird. So that's great about having limited flowering trees at the moment. You're going to be little sunbird hotspots. Just going to wait for him so I can get a clear view before I move forward with an identification. Now, where's my bird book? There we go. Now, just turn around for us. You can see much darker. It doesn't have that white belly. See the black belly. Did you see that little reddish band and a blue band on the belly? Now, some of the identifying features of some of the sunbirds, and some of the sunbirds can look very, very similar. And you got to start looking very carefully at those bands across their belly. Did he fly out? Okay, well, I'll find them in the book for you while you guys keep watching the white-bellied. And I'm quite sure this might be a new bird species for those of you keeping bird lists, that second sunbird we had there. And he was one of the double-collared sunbirds. Oh, or was he? I take that back. Not a double-collared sunbird. Where's he gone? So we saw a very brief view of what you found, a starling. Yeah, Birchall's starling disappearing. And so a very nice sunbird, one we don't see too often. I actually haven't seen too often in this part of the Sabi Sands. Now, the reason we can tell it was a purple banded sunbird is because of the black belly. Oh no, sorry, not purple banded, I'm being America sunbird. You see the black belly, and it's got those double bands that almost look reddish but more purple. But the black belly, the other double collared sunbirds have a very light colored belly. So the other ones we might possibly get here. Those are forest sunbirds. There we go. You see a very much lighter colored and much more red, and we didn't have that sort of scarlet. So, America sunbird. So, what do you guys think? It's either number 1 or number 4. So I'm going to put it to you. Now look how similar these two species are. I've given you two options. I've given you the purple banded and the Morocco. So it's a little bit of a test for you guys, and also a test to get me back into my sunbirds. I haven't been looking at them for too often. He's back, fine. We're looking at number 1 and number 4, but we'll get back to the book once we've got a bird right here, which is always better than a book. There we go. There you can see that purple on the chest, and as the sun comes out, that iridescent glow from the feathers. Oh, isn't he being so kind and out in the open? So guys, this is where birding can become very difficult because you have species that look so similar. So this isn't America sunbird. In fact, it is a purple banded, and that's just based on the size. America sunbird is a much bigger sunbird. It's one of the largest sunbirds. Oh, look at that, those colors. See, in body size, quite a similar size to the white-bellied. So those are some of the smaller. So when we're looking to ID something like a purple banded versus America sunbird, I mean, they are so similar in their color schemes that it is generally the size. And it has, the America will have a much longer and thicker bill than the purple banded. And I can't see the female yet, but she could be around with him. Oh, look at that. The sun giving those incredibly brilliant emerald feathers, and we can see that purple band with a blue band above it. And here we go. The female, that's also another giveaway now, that it is a purple banded sunbird. Slightly yellowish belly. Isn't that stunning? And off they disappear into the thick. So we've just been chatting about that beak and that long curved beak. I'm just going to jump quickly here. And they've got very specialized beaks and feeding. For feeding, whoopsie, taking things with me. We've got these incredibly delicate and beautiful flowers. I'm going to pop them on the dash so you can have a good look. And it's a russet bush willow that they've been feeding on. So if we have a quick look at this flower now, you can see how delicate it is and how small it is. So, I mean, they've got to get their tongues and into that tiny little thing that's holding the nectar there. So incredibly specialized. And Paul noted that they look very similar to hummingbirds. They are quite similar, except they're quite a lot more robust. They're actually quite a lot bigger birds than hummingbirds. We don't have any hummingbirds in Africa. It is a New World species, or to Central and from southern North America down through Central America. But they do have very similar feeding styles, except the hummingbird will often be on the wing. It doesn't perch and feed like sunbirds. But they do have this incredible tongue that's able to go down that long beak and get at that nectar. And then a very big well done to Monica, who's got number 50 on her bird list. So very well done, Monica. So I think we've had such a little fantastic time here at Buffels Hook Waterhole. Saddlebill's still there, but unsuccessful so far. We're going to maneuver on and see what else we can find. Well done, Eddie, Ali, and Pretty Nightmare, who worked it out before I told you it was and it's sunbird. So we're just going to cross through this dip at the back of the waterhole. Unfortunately, we do have some signal issues. It is one of these blind spots. Oh, look at him just sitting there next to you, Brian. No, he's flown away. We can hear him making lots of noise as he disappears. It was that Birchall starling. There we go, up and through. So, a very big welcome to Jen from Canada, who's a new viewer. Always wonderful to have someone new on the back of our vehicle, Jen. An absolute pleasure to have you on safari. And Jen, being a new viewer, is wondering what cat species do we get in the reserve here? Well, Jen, we're in the Greater Kruger National Park. We're in a little sort of corner in the center or the central and western sections called the Sabi Sands. It's a private reserve that borders the Kruger National Park, but there's no fences and the animals are able to move to and from as they please. So it is about 7 million acres that these animals have to roam in, so there is quite a lot of movement between the animals. But back more specifically to your question, Jen, about what cat species do we get here? We obviously get the big hairies and scaries. So the biggest cat species we get is obviously the lion, and the next one along is the leopard, and we have cheetah, and then from there we move into the smaller cat species that we don't see that often but do occur here. I think the one we have seen a couple of times on the live drives, and Brian and I were fortunate enough to be the first people to catch it as far as we know alive on drive, was the serval, which is an incredibly beautiful little cat. We also have caracal, which is also known as a lynx. They've got the long tufts on the ears. And we have African wildcat. And those are the true felids or cat species. So your two bigger ones belong to the Panthera family, which is the big cats, and they have the ability to roar. They have a very specialized hyoid bone in their throat that enables them to roar. Everything below that, including cheetah, are smaller, and their hyoid bone is solid, not elastic, and so they are not able to roar. And cheetahs, being quite a strange one, they're their own little family, the Asionics, and then all the rest belong to the genus Felis, and that is all the little cats. Now, speaking about little cats, I've got a very interesting question for you guys, and let's see, out there, I'm sure quite a lot of you out there have house cats, and do you know why the cartoon with Tweety Bird, I think it was, Brian, you might correct me if I'm wrong, that had Sylvester the cat? So who out there can tell me why Sylvester was named Sylvester the cat? Out of all the possible names they could have chosen for a cat, why was it called Sylvester? And you can send your answers through to questions@WildEarth.tv, or you can use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. Why was Sylvester the cat in the cartoon Tweety Bird, I think it was called, named Sylvester? Out of all the possible names they could have given that cartoon cat, why was he named Sylvester? So we've been quite lucky with the sunbirds this morning. I mean, I don't think we've shown a sunbird for quite a while, and to have two species in one tree was incredible. And carrying on with those sunbirds, we have a question from a new viewer, and a very young new viewer. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari, Gabby, who's 7 years old and from Johannesburg, South Africa. Gabby was wondering about the color difference between the boy and the girl birds, and she was saying, are the boys always bright and pretty like that and the females sort of gray and dull? Well, Gabby, in a lot of species that is the case, and with the sunbirds it's very apparent that almost all the males have got all those big shiny colors and the females don't look so pretty. So it's the opposite to humans, Gabby. So all the girls look shiny and pretty and all the boys not so much. But so the reason for this is, Gabby, that all the boys want to look pretty because they're all looking for a wife. So the prettiest sunbird with the brightest colors is going to attract the females, and the females don't need to go running around looking for males because the males are always looking for them, so they don't have to be shiny and stand out. And so that's why the boy sunbirds are all bright and shiny and the girl sunbirds don't have to worry about how they look. So guys, it seems like I made a whoopsie, and thanks very much for setting me straight. Quite a few of you, Gilly, Chris, and lots of others, said hummingbirds actually occur all the way from Alaska throughout all the states in North America. So I apologize, I only thought they were in the south. I've only ever seen them in the south. Where did I see them? And I have a friend who lives in Arizona who feeds them that sugary water substance on their travels. So I do apologize for that. And then Carol was wondering, do we have bee eaters here? We do, Carol, and some of the migrant bee eaters should be arriving quite soon. The two migrant bee eater species we get here are the carmine and the European. The resident bee eater species, the most resident bee eater species we get here is the little bee eater, but normally closer to the bigger rivers is white-fronted bee eater. We might see them in the summer months moving away. Sorry, I saw another bird, quite a big one. There he is. Disappearing, skulking through the grass. You've got him there, Brian? Quran. So yeah, Scotty's just calling me on the radio. Brian's going to just show you quickly a red-crested Quran who's disappearing. Standing by. Copy, no problem. I'm on Cheetah Cut Line heading south. So there we go, a little red-crested Quran, and hopefully we're going to be able to catch the mating display, which should be coming along shortly. I have heard them calling. I haven't seen any bombs from the sky yet. So as we were just saying, how the male birds have to impress females so much. Unfortunately, I couldn't see whether that was a male or female as it disappeared. But as with the sun, or not quite like the sunbirds, the sunbirds are around very pretty colouring. The Qurans are actually very similarly coloured, but so then the male, to impress the ladies, he'll fly up into the air, he'll do that call, and then he'll go straight up into the air and just close his wings and plummet to the ground, and just before he opens his wings, and that's to show the females how impressive he is. And one of the reasons that they have such a very sort of visible display is that so it can be seen by multiple females over a distance and hopefully attract in a mate. So well done to Pretty Nightmare, Robin, Raisa and Nancy and many more. I thought I might have foxed you there, so that is very correct. The name for Sylvester the cat from the Tweety Bird cartoons comes from a play on the scientific name for a wild cat species, which is Felis sylvestris. So very, very good. The guys are much smarter and faster than me this morning, it seems. So I think I'm going to have to up the game. So back onto cartoons and cartoon cats. Why is Tom from Tom? I'm joking. We all know it's Tom because it's a boy. Tom and from Tom and Jerry. So since we speak so much about Twitter and you guys all use it regularly, Paul said maybe Twitter was named after Tweety Bird. Possibly, Paul. I actually think there's a strong possibility. And X Ranga thought Sylvester might have been an African explorer. I'm not 100% sure. I think if I remember my cat history correctly, Sylvester is actually possibly a European wildcat, but I will double check that for you. Speaking of cats, there are not many footprints on the road this morning, but we will continue on. Scott, Jamie and James and Steph are out checking the other side of the reserve for me, seeing if they find any tracks on tracking team. So always great. We have such a wonderful team that we're always out to help each other, and it's always much easier when you do have a nice tracking team who's got your back out there. So we've just been chatting quite a lot about the different color variations in some of the birds we see, and Bugsy and Bob are wondering, they thought it was possibly so the females were more inconspicuous while nesting. That is a possibility, but one must remember most of those nests are also built by the males, and the males in quite a lot of the species will help raise the chicks, so there is that bright flashing thing that will be around the nests. So there obviously is an element of that, but most of these vast sexual dimorphism, like we see in Nyala, is all for sexual competition and mating rights. Mostly. Not always, but most of the time. Well, since we've started so well on the birds, and we can, I think let's keep going. Let's see how many bird species we can get on a single drive. I'm talking too much. Now I've cost us a bird species. There's a little emerald spotted wood dove. Hopefully we should be able to find another one of those. But you guys are going to have to keep track for me. So let's see how many bird species we can get on the sunrise safari. And hopefully we might get some of the first migrants coming back as well. just a quick one to add to the list, one we do see quite often, but let's put it in the bank, and it's a fork-tailed drongo. So Marian's saying she really likes marabou storks, but we don't see them too often. I know James had some on a safari not so long ago when the Buffles, sorry, not the Buffles Hook, the Djuma waterhole was very, very low, and they were there trying to feed off those catfish. I can hear a coqui franklin off to the left. And also on those larger birds, PK from Iowa is saying, well, where do they nest? Well, they form big flat stick nests normally in dead trees or larger trees like jackalberries, and they'll form a big flat crown of nests in this area. In areas like the Okavango Delta, they nest in things called heronries. I think that's and heronries, you'll have multiple species of egrets, herons, and storks all nesting in zyzidiums or water berries that grow in the water and generally on oxbow lagoons and that. So it just depends on the area, but they do nest in sort of big stick nests in trees. Of course, now this coqui franklin has decided to stop calling. I guess somewhere around that termite mound. Oh, one's called further away, he might respond. Or not. Okay, well, it doesn't seem to be playing the game, so we will carry on. So we've just been chatting about bee eaters. So we've got a question from Chris, not about the feathered bee eaters, but the bees themselves. Chris would like to know, do we have Africanized bees here? Well, Chris, what is referred to as an African killer bee or Africanized bees in the United States and Europe is our stock standard honeybee. So we do, and they're from here, and we do see them quite a lot, and I haven't found a hive yet, but they move quite a lot during the dry season in search of water and pollen. But we will keep a lookout, and I'm quite sure we possibly will find a hive at some point. Another bird we see quite often, but let's just pop it on the list. There we go, long-tailed shrike, or magpie shrike. How many are we on now, Ryan? What do you think? 10? 11?
At least.
At least. What do you think's a good... Brian and I are going to just try and make up... What is a good target to get to on the sunrise safari? I think we can get to 50 bird species. It's going to be a challenge, but I think we can do it.
Okay.
We got the killer bees. Brian with that smooth and quick camera work. I think we got a chance to get to 50 species in one drive. So just as I mentioned, Brian's fantastic camera work, Lucy from South Bend, Indiana, has complimented Brian on his incredible filming of the birds. Well, Lucy, I agree with you completely. I'm very lucky to work with a cameraman like Brian.
Thanks, Lucy.
Oh, another one for the species list. We're gonna get a safety shot from a distance before we try closer. Here we go. Beautiful birds. And they have a long curved beak, very similarly shaped to a sunbird, but for very different reasons. They use that curved beak to pry under the wood, and that to remove beetles, and to go right into the wood to remove borer larvae. And that is a green wood hoopoo. Oh, and we hear that call. I'm going to try go a little bit closer. They are sometimes quite difficult to get a bit close to, but definitely worth a try. See them. Wonderful red bill, the white windows on the long tail and wings. And as the sun catches them, they'll get that iridescent blue. So looking for all sorts of chochos. For those of you not sure what a chocho is, it's a South African colloquialism for bugs. A chocho or a nunu. Okay, let's see what else we can find. So the wonderful thing about a bit of rain and now a bit of heat is that not only are the flowers and the grass going to come out, but some of the insects as well. Hang on. You can hear Cokie Franklin again. So out of the Franklin species, your Cokie and your Shelleys are far more retiring, so they skulk through the grass, making them a little bit more difficult to find. I think maybe not. Okay, keep moving. So as we continue on our avian themed morning, I have a very impressive bird list. Laura from Finland said thanks very much for the sunbirds, but also she is on 160 species since the drives have begun. That is incredible, Laura, and keep it up. Hopefully we can make it 161 today. And she spot, Brian. Still on the subject of birds, Ivy from New Jersey is wondering if we get any orioles here. We do. We get the eastern black-headed oriole. I actually had one calling right outside my room yesterday, so hopefully we are able to find one. But off the birds for a second, and we have a mammal for a change. Blue wildebeest bull. This is that old territorial bull we have seen quite a few times in this area, and he'll be hoping now with a bit of rain and some green flush on the grass that the ladies are going to be coming to visit him. We'll leave him be on his morning graze. So we've got another spot to check. I'm not sure whether this nest's being used at the moment, but always worth having a look. Another one for the list for the morning. Chin spot batis. There you go. Turn around, let's see if you're a girl or a boy. Looks like a male chin spot batis. The female actually has the little red chin spot. And they've got a wonderful call. 3 blind mice. There we go. Give the full call. No, he's only doing half. Can't entice him to finish off. There we go. 3 blind mice. So the batises are little fly catchers, and off he goes. There's another one for the list today. Batis is one of the little flycatcher species. Very, very pretty. And definitely one of the calls we hear a lot out here. So our next stop is hopefully going to bring us another species. And they are nesting there, or they have been nesting there in the past. This is the wildebeest walking up the road, the one we just seen. So we're approaching this nest now. Brian, do you know this nest? In this. I don't think they're here at the moment, but it's worth having a look. The hole. No one at home at the moment, unfortunately. But that is a brown-headed parrot nest in this dead marula. There's at the moment disused brown-headed parrot's nest, but a nest like this might be used by other birds that now that they've vacated. You could find this would be a really nice nest for a lilac-breasted roller, or even a hornbill. But a hornbill would close up the nest and with mud eventually if there was a female with eggs inside it. Also, the wood hoopers could use this. Those green wood hoopers we just saw. So a lot of these holes might be used by various different birds at different times, as well as things like monitor lizards and snakes and bush babies and all sorts. So a cavity in a tree is high-end realty out here. So we're approaching the southern boundary now, and then we're going to head west for a bit, maybe stop by the Twin Dams waterhole, see what's around there, and Treehouse waterhole, and then maybe meander on to Arethusa. We might get some nice aquatic birds at the Arethusa Dam to add to the list. So 50 is our goal for the sunrise safari. I'm hoping we can surpass that. Can you guys let me know on how many species we're on so far? And you can do that by emailing us some questions at WildEarthTV, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. I'm having a quick look at tracks around here. Can be any of interest? Excuse me. It's time for some water. I think it's going to be an absolute stinker of a day. It's already quite warm. So not only are we on the prowl for the predators this morning, we're on the prowl for the birds as well. For those of you who are birders, we would be watching. Oh, there we go. He's disappearing. I'm sure Brian can catch him. Yes, there we go. White-back vulture. You can actually see that white back as he disappears there. That white in the middle of the back. There's another one. Not the best vulture sighting, but definitely identifiable. Distinct white back as he took off. Nice camera, Brian. We've got a nice little herd of impala here to the left. Let's see if there are any oxpeckers. It might be a little bit early. All these ones are having a bit of a game here. There's female headbutting a female. This is last year's babies all playing, starting to have a silly few minutes chasing each other around. Love those little tails as they flick, flick, flick the flies away. Well, unfortunately no oxpeckers yet, and you can see they haven't extended their coat, so it is a nice warm morning. And off they head to the south out of our area. The land is devoid of large cat tracks this morning. I haven't heard a peep out of the tracking team either, so oh dear. These fresh smells, I mean, they're completely different from the winter where you just had that dust. It's a very fresh, almost clean smell we're smelling at the moment. There we go. We're going to land. Nope, but still. There we go. Grey go-away bird. Another one of our regulars. And as I said, let's put them in the bank, check them off, and keep going. We're on a twitching morning today. For those of you not sure, it doesn't mean I've got a funny twitch. It's a sort of a birding term for birders. They're often called twitchers. And it's probably because they twitch when they see a new bird species. Twitch with excitement, that is. We're about to go through a little dip. We might experience a little bit of signal breakup, so please bear with us. I'm hoping the signal holds so we can get another one of our regulars off the list. There we go, a crested francolin. So another one of our regular birds that we see quite often. Go have a look at Twin Dams. I just seem to be having a little problem with my earpiece. We're just going to pull down here and see what we can see while I try to fix it. I hear a bird party up here. Guys, just gonna sit here and listen for a second while I try fix something here quickly. Okay, it looks like we're back. Well, Anna Marie says she's calling this episode Birding with Brent, but I think it should be actually the triple B, Birding with Brent and Brian. BBB. Well done, Brian. Brian's found another, what is it? A yellow-billed hornbill. Another one of our regulars, but well spotted by Brian there. We haven't got them on the list yet for this morning. And Penny Pine and John are wondering about venomous reptiles, and does this weather bring them out? Well, it should bring the venomous or the reptiles out, not only the venomous ones. And also, John's wondering if we can find an African rock python, if we're really lucky. It is possible, and I would really be excited if we did. Strangely enough, speaking of reptiles, I had a reptile in my shower this morning, a little red-lipped herald snake, completely, well, not completely harmless. If he bites you, can give you a little headache, but not too serious. But we just moved him out this morning after I finished showering. Alright, guys, I'm just going to get a hold of Scotty quickly on the radio. Scott. Copy, thanks. I'm at Treehouse. I will head towards that position. So, a quick update from the tracking team. They have managed to find some tracks. It looks to be Shadow and Madiba heading south into Arathusa. So we're going to head towards that area. We're going to keep up with the birds, don't you worry, but hopefully we can add some kitty cats to the birds. There we go. An arrow-marked babbler. There we go. I wonder where the rest of his flock are. Normally very loud and moving together. I can hear some more in the drainage line. Oh. There's another regular. Probably get off the list so we can start focusing on some of the more finicky species. Soon to be two in the tree. We can hear them calling. There we go. Oh, male was trying to get lucky there, but Cape turtle doves almost mating. Unlucky, sir. Disappeared into the drainage line. There's a little towel Franklin, so we'll spot another one as we meander through. get him there, Brian, through that gap. You see him?
Not anymore, no.
Okay, see the come out of it? Let's figure out where we are. Where that Franklin is. So down. Come down a bit. There. Oh, he's flown. Not to worry. Crested varmint, but it escaped us. So we are slowly making our way towards that area where there are tracks of Shadow and Madiba. Scott and the rest of the tracking team are in that area there now. So taking a little bit of pressure off us so we don't have to rush there. We can keep going at a nice skate speed and keep looking for whatever else we might be able to find.